So I'm here with David Hancock, who is the artist that we've been working with this week, installing his show of work, which is about cosplayers. And David, I just wanted to ask you to begin with how long you've been working on this body of work for?
I've probably been working on the whole kind of series of work on cosplay for maybe two and a bit years now. But for the last year I've been kind of focusing solely on the work that was commissioned by Wolverhampton Art Gallery. So I think it's taken me kind of pretty much most of the year to kind of produce most of the kind of the big works that you can see around, and some smaller pieces as well to kind of show around them.
And roughly how long does it take you to make a painting, say for example this kind of scale?
Maybe a month, maybe just over a month. So that's the actual painting, is probably the planning time and arranging to meet with the cosplayers and figuring out where it's all going to be and stuff like that. So yeah, probably about a month, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to start off by asking you, David, about the projects, because the exhibition that we've got on here, it's 3 bodies of work, isn't it, around the theme of cosplay and manga characters.
Yeah, I kind of chose 3 separate, I don't know, I think originally I was just photographing kind of cosplayers randomly and then making paintings from the best ones. And then what I kind of noticed was with some of the cosplayers that when the characters were playing the same character, you could see how each of the individuals' personality was kind of brought into their character through how they kind of did different interpretations of the same character. So I did a whole series on Vampire Nights and these kind of 2 or 3 main characters in that, and a lot of the cosplays tend to kind of focus on the character Yuki Cross, which is a female kind of vampire character. And it was really interesting to see how all the different interpretations and how even within quite kind of tight restricted, there's not very much room for interpretation. You still got each of the characters' kind of distinct personalities coming through of the original person. And then from there, I kind of focused on Final Fantasy because I was kind of very much interested in computer games. And in the Final Fantasy series, the gameplay allows you to kind of take control of a character and develop the character in whatever way that you want to do while you're playing the game. And I found that quite interesting because it linked quite nicely with the cosplayers, because that's kind of what they do. So in the show you'll kind of see lots of kind of different interpretations of a character called Lightning from Final Fantasy 13, and also Tifa and Cloud as well from Final Fantasy 7. I've painted a few different versions of Tifa as well. So I just found it really nice how each kind of cosplayer brought their own personality to the character. So.
And can you just explain, for visitors who don't know what cosplay is, can you just explain what it is?
Cosplay is a subculture that's kind of based on kind of people dressing up as characters from computer games and Japanese manga comics, and also UK and American kind of comics as well. So what they do is they kind of take on it's not just dressing up, it's also taking on the personality of the character as well. So they will become a particular character and bring on, stop for words, kind of take on their persona as well. So so it was, I'm sorry, I've lost my train of thought.
Yeah, it's okay. I was going to ask you as well about how you made contact with the cosplayers. How did you, because I know you've worked with groups in Wolverhampton and other local groups, how did you come across those groups in the first place?
Originally I met them through a friend of a friend. The first drawing I did was from a person called Miriam, and it's her kind of leaping up in the air in like a Lolita dress. And my girlfriend's kind of friend at work knew her and she introduced me to her, and from there I kind of met a lot of the other cosplayers. When I did the photo shoot with her, she introduced me to a lot of other cosplayers in Manchester. And all the cosplay community is really quite close-knit, so they all tend to know each other quite well. So through these networks you can almost kind of meet cosplayers from all over the country really, and sometimes occasionally abroad as well. So I think it's quite a small subculture, but there's quite a strong kind of community within that subculture as well, and they all seem to be kind of friends of friends and get on quite well as well. So.
And I wanted to ask you about the medium that you're working in, because I know you're working in watercolour, which is obviously quite unusual when you're working on such a huge scale, and some of the works are in pencil crayon. Was that a deliberate decision on your part to work in that medium?
I used to work in acrylic, as most of my kind of output over the past kind of 15-20 years has been acrylic on canvas, and I just wanted to try something else. I started doing a lot of drawing, like just pencil on paper, and it was just a way of kind of shaking up what I was doing and try doing something different and bringing a lot more space into the work. And then from the pencil work I started doing pencil crayon, and then I kind of experimented with watercolour as well, which I'd never used before. And the thing with watercolours is it's almost like the opposite of acrylic. You can't really overwork it. You can't build, like, if you make a mistake, you're kind of stuck with it really. You can try and wash it off, and that's about as much as you can do really. Whereas acrylic, if you make a mistake, you just paint over it. So you just wait for it to dry, and it's dry within 10 minutes. So watercolour was quite a challenge really for me, and also the paper and the surface that you work on is quite beautiful as well. I've been using a lot of like really nice handmade papers, so I kind of like the whiteness of the paper as well, and that's something that I've been kind of playing compositionally with the work, and leaving a lot of empty space and some of the paint splashes and stuff like that. So there's this kind of quite hyper-real kind of part element of the work, and then there's this more kind of playful, kind of abstract part of the work as well.
Because some of the work, like the works behind you, have completely white background, but then some you've introduced different architectural elements, so there's a bit of a clue as to where you are.
Yeah.
How do you decide which parts of the landscape to include and which ones not to?
Yeah, I mean, originally the idea with the white background was because if you're kind of outside the cosplay scene and you're seeing a group of cosplayers kind of in the city, you're not really aware of what's going on within their imagination, how they're interpreting the environment. But then what I wanted to do was kind of bring in more kind of suggestions of what the space is, because I think similar with other subcultures as well, kind of subcultures tend to appropriate kind of urban space and the environment as well, and kind of make it their own, and cosplayers kind of do that within their own imaginations. So they'll change particular places and locations so it becomes part of the world of the character that they're trying to be. So the idea was to find kind of locations within a city that actually fit within the character's world, and the cosplayer could easily kind of make these part of that character's space as well. So there's like the balcony of the art gallery kind of takes over from Gotham City when Catwoman's kind of on the balcony, and like one of the tower block in Wolverhampton as well, Tom Court, kind of becomes like somewhere in Tokyo as well, like a Tokyo high-rise. So it's kind of interesting how these buildings have this kind of dual a dual kind of relationship, I suppose.
Yeah.
Like it's a real world and a fantasy world. So.
And finally, I was going to ask about the films, because I know in the exhibition we are showing 3 films that relate to the cosplay series. Is this the first time that you've screened those films?
Yeah, I think it is actually,
yeah.
Properly, yeah, in a proper gallery as well. So yeah, it will be the first time. So yeah.
New direction for the work.
Yeah, well, I've been making kind of films as part of it. I mean, I did the first one, Link, which was with the cosplayer Mikey, and we almost kind of wanted to recreate this kind of trailer for him taking on the role in a way. So these, and also I wanted to reference the Caspar David Friedrich painting, The Wanderer Above the Sea of Fog, which to me is quite reminiscent of kind of computer game landscapes. If you look at the painting, it kind of looks like it's a scene from a computer game, and I think I wanted to try and kind of bring that into the video as well, because the way you experience a Caspar David Friedrich painting is always through the character, the Wanderer, who's at the forefront. So you look at the painting through the character, through that person, the Wanderer, and I kind of wanted to do that with the cosplayers as well. So you then interpret the landscape through the cosplayer and how they're kind of transforming it. So that was what I wanted to bring out in that video. So,
Great. Is that okay?